Welcome to Positive Personal Power with hope, aspiration, and encouragement. Our goal is to build and enhance people's confidence and strength to handle life's challenges. Now, let me introduce you to your host, Nathaniel Skula.
Well, I'm very happy to be joined by Stephen Gillen, who's a personal friend of mine. Actually, we met last year, I think, and
a little bit longer, a couple of years ago.
A couple of years, yeah, it was 2 years, yeah, maybe three actually,
maybe even three,
yeah. But I'm really impressed with how you've changed your life, and now you're a successful global entrepreneur and filmmaker. And you're the awarded Peace Ambassador. And you were also nominated last year for an International Peace Prize. And you're soon to release your book, The Monkey Puzzle Tree, of which there's also a film in pre-production. And I'm quite amazed at how you can actually just completely transform from the situation which was your life before. Because you were in an extreme situation, right? And what do you think was like the biggest turning point for you?
I think in a life there are many twists and turns, but it's very important for us as human beings to peel away the layers of the onion of ourselves, as it were, and really get down to the nucleus of who we are, what we really want, what we find appropriate, what we like, what we don't like, and more importantly, in a sense, what we see and what we wish to develop into as a human being. Now, the clearer this is and the more truthfully internally that we really take this stuff apart and engage with it, is the real catalyst to moving forward in the right direction in a real meteoric way towards all the things that we wish to be. And this is no matter where we come from or what we're going through, really, or what we wish to be. This is definitely an anchoring point.
Mm-hmm. So was there one particular moment though? Like, I know I read a newspaper article the other day that you kindly sent me, and you spent like 5 years in solitary confinement. So would you say that was like a turning point for you, like massively, or did some other lessons come out of there?
The truth is that there are many lessons, and I always say this, that most people, they sit down, bless them, and they wait for this epiphany, or they wait for this moment of truth. They wait for this game-changing person or thing or product or whatever, which is going to come and stack everything in their favor with a wave of their, as night follows day, everything changes and they're just positioned in wherever, it's that easy.
Yeah.
Now, really, the real truth behind that and how this life is engineered and how we need to engineer for our success is much more practical than that. The best way to say it is, look, it's not one decision. It's not 10 decisions. It's not 1,000 decisions. It's not even 100,000 decisions. It's consistently right decisions, sometimes every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every month, very much over a period of 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Right. I got you. So it's almost like you're basically unpeeling this onion, right, and getting through all of these layers that are kind of holding you back from becoming the person that you really want to be. Yeah, is that fair to say?
Well, it's interesting because as human beings, we come here as a blank sheet. We come into the world with all, we're challenged as soon as we come into the world, by circumstance, and a myriad of sidewinding issues of people, places, and things Now, you know, they are very, very consistent. And, you know, if we're starting from point zero, then we're really up against it as we navigate forward. So this suggests that we're going to be tested all the way through and that we're going to make mistakes, some of them large and some of them small. Now, you know, I found that in this is a rite of passage. This is part of what life is about. But I think where people go wrong, even myself, back in the old days before I worked this stuff out, is because maybe we haven't got the right instruction, or you know, emotionally we're not anchored right, or we're carrying issues from the past, or the circumstances are not conducive to be making healthy choices. We find it hard as people to see through the noise of things, the noise of things. Now, this can really be like deep water, which can sweep people away and, you know, and make them flounder really, really quick. But, you know, all the answers are really inside us, really. So it is about anchoring and bringing things back. And if you haven't got the right conditions of people, places, and things around you, then you have to populate your life with them and make this fertile ground. So this is a trick of mine, and it's a necessity of life. As I say, the other side of that is floundering in, you know, the waves and not being able, or maybe having the strength or clarity to be able to see through the noise of things.
Right, right. I mean, I interviewed Stanley Tucci a while back, and you know, he was saying that the family really helped him. Like his family, you know, they like when his wife passed away, his first wife, like that was, you know, there are all these therapists and all these kind of people who get paid to kind of help you to get over problems. But actually, he personally found that his family were his support system, and they really helped him to get over. Well, you never get over it, but to move beyond the situation, right, that he was in. And you know, I got in with the wrong crowd when I was in my teens, even into my mid-20s, perhaps. I got, you know, sort of moved beyond them eventually, and that's when my life kind of improved or began to improve. But it isn't a miraculous improvement overnight. Like, you don't just wake up one morning and have everything you ever dreamed of fall in your lap, right? You need to work really hard to get somewhere, yeah. And just from my own experience, like having the right people who are communicating with you on a day-to-day basis and encouraging you, that can almost like snap you out of this mindset. But the thing is, with you couldn't, like, you couldn't get away from that kind of situation you were in, right? So even took probably more willpower and more determination than my situation, because you're stuck in there, like you can't get out, right? You know?
Yeah, my story is really the path less trodden in many senses. One of them being, yeah, you know, I mean, I spent a lot of years as a high security prisoner, you know, a lot of that in isolation, you know, and you know, a lot of consistent emotional, physical, mental, even spiritual challenges and adversities that, you know, I had to uncode, you know, and I had to find ways to cope and overcome with. And herein lies the jewels of that, Nathaniel, in the sense that although it was so unremittingly painful, one, I had to solve the problems because it's sink or swim. So this is a great incentive to do or die. It's that kind of thing where, you know, the general comes onto the beach with his army, and you know the first order he gives is burn the boats. I love that analogy because that takes away any notion of weakness and, there's a way back, or, there's a shortcut, or if it goes wrong, any doubts, let's say, So the only way really is forward. Now, this really condenses the mind and focuses the mind like nothing else. So the other part of success, I've always said it, and it is very, very apparent, no matter what we do as human beings, is fusing everything we do with consistency.
Yeah.
We fuse what we do with consistency. It's a good idea that we do something we enjoy. We will do very well at it, I promise you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree completely. Being consistent is why my podcast show is becoming quite successful, because people expect to receive that content. They expect it on the same day every week. They expect it to be delivered in the way they expect it to be delivered at the time that they want it, and it needs to be good, right? But you said quite a lot there, and I think Will Smith, I've been listening to a lot of Will Smith over the years, because I think he's got a lot of inspirational content that he shares. And he says that, why do you need a plan B? Plan B detracts you from plan A, right? It's basically what he says. And it gives you a chance to be ineffective, right? Is basically, it's pretty much what I just took from what you just said. Is that fair to say that?
Yeah, that's another one of my tricks. I mean, another thing there that we can add on there is what I had to do, the best way, for me to describe this transformation is, there are different elements to it, but I basically had to rewire and re-engineer myself, in every way. I call it internal engineering. So I had to fortify internally many areas of myself with very clear, strong boundaries, which were very, very, very prominent and very healthy, and were the right answers. These had to be pushed and pulled, obviously, beyond what would be possible, to know that these boundaries were right. And these were forged along a very, very painful journey. Now, these are, a very compartmentalized internal system, which gives me answers really, really quickly. It's an interesting thing, because I'm not a person now who gets excited. I can feel excited, and but what I've managed to do is, because I've been through so much, is that I don't get too excited, and I refuse to go down in my mood under a certain point. What I end up doing is, before, where I had this erratic, crazy, up and down, unmanageable set of feelings and all of this stuff. Now I'm I have that middle line, and I may go up and down it, but it's unbelievably steady. Now, that's took a lot of work, and that's for obvious reasons. That's for obvious reasons. So everything I do is very healthy, controlled, can be measured and maintained, and there's no surprises. And all I really do is I love being a student of life. I love that there's so many levels to go and reach for. I love the learning. I love the reaching out, beyond, really, to be the best that I can be. To do more, to see more, to be more. I really love this. I really love this. It's a calling of mine. I've shaped that into a real calling, because I know we will never finish this, right? No matter how long, there'll always be more, better, all of this stuff. I mean, we know this. But so what I kind of do is, I just keep adding the good stuff now to what I've already built internally. I hope that helps.
Yeah, very much so. It's just striving to live life, right, and enjoy every moment. I mean, that's once you can like keep control of your emotions, like, things become so much easier. Like, to because then you're kind of more consistently happy, aren't you? I think, and that's something I've been working on for absolutely years, and I use exercise to give me that. Other people use certain other different types of exercise. I have my own Tai Chi that I do every day. Other people do other things, right? But like, you don't necessarily have to use exercise in that way, but that helps me to keep consistently. I'm not going to say calm, because I get excited. I'm still quite excitable, but I'm happy. I've managed to like maintain the happy level to a consistent happiness, right? It doesn't mean I don't get excited, yeah, but I don't usually get depressed. But saying that, right now is really tough, yeah. I mean, I live on my own, yeah, and we're in a very, very tough place right now. And if I don't go out for a walk and get some fresh air nearly every day, I kind of go a bit stir crazy, because I don't really see very many people. So, right now, thankfully, we're just about to be able to start going out and seeing our friends. I think today, we're allowed to see one person, aren't we? And so life is quite weird. I think a lot of people are going to be going through this for quite a while, especially the more vulnerable people in society. So have you got any sort of tips that you picked up from when you were in a cell, like on your own for 5 years, that you can share with people?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not only incumbent, that means duty bound, but it's one of the absolute keys for us is number one is understanding, as I said before, really who we are and what we want on that really, really intrinsic level, right? But the other thing is that where people can have a hard time, I realize, is understanding what life is really about. I mean, in that sense, let me put it like this. I'll give you a clear example. We're having the problems that we're having now. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, it's unprecedented. Yes, it's a worry, and it brings all of these supposedly negative things, right? But look, really, when you look at life itself, by its very suggestion, the reason why we're given these great challenges is it's not to hurt us or make us feel pain, although a lot of that is that. It's actually to make us grow and expedite our growth faster. Now, many people in the mindset, if they don't understand this clearly or don't have an angle on this, it's poor me, or they point at someone else, or the world's against me, or oh my God, I'm worthless. It's all a crock of all of that.
Got you.
All of these feelings, it's like that waves and the sea I told you about, which can take away so many people. This is a real instance of what I'm talking about. Now, this stuff is very painful, but if we really narrow it and keep it simple, and we're in a place where, we just see it for what it is, that, hey, look, we're a collective here. There are many adversities, but the very nature of life is that we learn, is that, like any other living thing, from a blade of grass to a tree, when the conditions are right, life stretches out. It wants to be more. It wants to be bigger and greater than it is. Yeah. We are no different. We are no different. So when we understand these things, it clears away so much of the minutiae, which is very, very troubling. And then guess what happens? We start to ask the right questions again. And when we ask the right questions, we get wonderful answers. And this really expedites what we want to do with our life.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been doing a lot of thinking around this, and it's like, I speak to all sorts of people, people that have sold businesses for billions, successful CEOs like you, and a number of people, right? But I also speak to people who work in their day job. They work in factories, for example, or managers of pubs, or restaurants and things, right? And it's like, and I was sort of thinking about this the other day and thinking, well, when we were kids, right? When we got really good at something, how did we do it? we were genuinely intrigued by whatever it was that we wanted to learn, and we loved finding out all the little details. And that's basically all this is. Yeah. But yet you've got all these people who are kind of like, oh, well, I'm expecting the government to pay for me for the next however many years, right? And I feel bad for them. I know what it feels like. I've been outside the job centre and you know, claiming job seekers allowance, it was back then, right? £36 a week. And I told this story a few times. I parked my motorcycle on the pavement, and I came out and I had a ticket, which was like 60 quid. And I was like, you know, and at that point, I know what that feels like. I'm sure you've had all sorts of pain and torture,
absolutely,
right? And you've been on your knees, yeah. You've been on your knees, probably bawling your eyes out at times, yeah, on your own, right? Just going, please, like, help me. Like, I don't know what to do here, right? And that's, but I think there is hope, but you don't just get given success. Like, you don't just wake up one morning and have like everything you ever dreamed of. Yeah, you have to work really hard, you know.
Yeah, you see, this is the thing. This is the thing that it's a very valid point. You know you know, and it's another clear example of why the quality of our thoughts, you know, are really, you know, really the engine of you know, where we're going here, right? And mindset is everything. It's like Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's the same kind of thing, you know. What not? But the beauty of this is, apart from all of that, is look, we can change as people. I mean, many people say to me, Stephen, look, you know, your story is so unique. You know, I mean, they wrote in the paper. You've seen it, you know. It went all over Ireland the other weekend. You know, it was a 2-page spread at the
I saw
start.
it.
You know, the line was, if Stephen Gillen's life story was pitched to Hollywood as an original screenplay, it will be rejected as too far-fetched.
Yeah,
That was the start of the line. This is what the journalist wrote. Now, that shows that, look, around every corner, there is always a brighter light. There is always a way out of the hole, no matter how dark and deep it is. There is always a way back from terrible choices or worse. There always is. But you see, the nature of it is a journey, and it's very, very hard. And this is what people don't want to do.
No.
But what they forget is small steps turn into big strides. Small baby steps turn into big strides. And before you know it, you're on top of the mountain. The thing is to start, get your stuff together, put your heart on your sleeve, change your mindset in whichever way you need to do. Put your head against the wind and go forward with the right people in the right direction.
Yeah.
And don't listen to the whispering voices. When you know you've got your compass set, that's easy. You just keep going in the direction you need to. Things start to unravel and rewire and change when we do this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree 100% with all you've just said. 100%. But the thing is that many of these people who are going to listen to this, right? Some of them are going to be okay. They're going to be really happy, and they're going to listen to it just out of curiosity. And we're going to talk about Charles Bronson, because I want to ask you about him. I know he's a buddy of yours, but
yeah, Charlie,
before we get to that, right? If I'm sitting there and I really, my skills, I mean, are great, right? Say I'm a manager of a bar or a restaurant or something like this, or or I'm not. I'm just, early on in my career. Yeah. How I would look at this situation is just think about the things that you really enjoy. Yeah. Think about the things you really enjoy, and think about the things that you are interested in, genuinely really interested in, like a child would be in some sort of toy, and think, well, actually, if I really, really put the time into learning about these particular subjects, then that can turn into a career. Yeah. So you just need to look on YouTube and look at some videos. There's freaking everything in the world out there that you want to learn, and it's out there and it's free. When you and I grew up, right, we had to read books. We had to go to the library. Yeah,
Absolutely.
like the computer that like I was lucky. My dad had computers and stuff, right? But to get anything and do anything with a computer back then, like we didn't have the internet, right? It was before the internet. Yeah. Everyone now, they have access to every freaking thing. It's like, so you got to face up to the fact that you need to learn stuff continually, and that's how it is, really.
Look, absolutely. You know, I mean, there are different parts to this, and that is one of them. You know, is continued learning, and it. Look, you know, it really is like the Matrix, where they'd hook you in there and they'd say, right, you know, I want to fly a helicopter, load me up. There's a program, bang. This is a great way to, you know, a great analogy to see how we need to integrate knowledge as human beings. This is what I always say like that. It's really as simple as that. But you know, to find real success it's like the makings of a fine cake. If the ingredients are just a little bit off, because most people are, Nathaniel, are just so close. Success may be millimeters away, really, at any given time. You know, they're kind of there, but they're not there, and it's just so close. Them green shoots are just underneath the earth. Now, because it's such a lengthy, intense period of giving, of pain, of relentless solving problems, giving, you know, all out, you know, all out. It's they are so close. But again, you know, the answers are always inside, and it is. You know, this is why, you know, you'll always see in business, it really is. Yes, we need all the specialist teachings, as we've just said. We need good guidance. We need the right groups of people around us. We need the right learnings, all of this stuff. But we can have all of this. And if we are not strong, courageous people who are balanced and have uncoded ourselves in the right ways that we need to, then it's never going to happen anyway. The central part of this always is and will be us. It's finite. And this is interesting because this goes with what we talked about earlier about having a purpose and how the world is actually put together. Because the essence of that is that we not only do we learn and grow, but the first stop of that must be that we learn about ourselves, that we uncode ourselves. Now, there are many ways that we do that. We can do that by our interactions with other people. We can do that by the adversity that we have to surmount. You know, we can do that by the learnings that we have to integrate. We can go on and on. But in business, you know, it really comes down to what do you have in you? Because you need to have a high element of very strong and principled skills as a human being. All successful people will have this, I promise you. No matter what industry they're in or what they may be or do, they will have this. So there's a real indication of what is central across the board.
Yeah, I agree completely. And it can be monetary for charities. It can be, you know, content, like the content that I'm putting out, right? Like that's my purpose, is to deliver really amazing content that helps people. That's it, right? I don't need, like, the thing is, some people think that their purpose needs to be really complicated. And it's like, actually, you might just wake up one morning and go, well, actually, I know this is what I need to do. And you just do it and it becomes enjoyable. And then that can actually lead you to amazing opportunities, right? But purpose is a funny thing. It's a funny thing. I mean, I just made a list of things like I believe, because I've got a friend, he's like a New York Times 6 times best-selling author, Brian Eisenberg, absolutely lovely chap. And he wrote this book a couple of years ago, a very short book about well, to start with, it was called Be Like Amazon. I don't know what he changed the title, because he's obsessed with Amazon because it's so well run. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into the ethics and the morals of the business and everything, but it is a well-run business.
But as a model, yeah,
and it's a model to look at. It's continual improvement, right? But Brian, in that book, he writes about so you write down these statements like, what do I believe? And you just write, I believe this, I believe that, and you make a list of all these things that you believe. And if you know, you're presented with a business opportunity, perhaps if you don't have loads of them, and it comes along and you read your list of I believe, and if that opportunity conflicts with what your belief system is, you can't do it, right? And so that's something I thought was quite interesting. But it's just a really a funny one. Like, you're completely right. Like, being 1 millimeter away from success is completely correct, but it's almost like you're holding this desire of what you want inside your heart. Almost, it feels like it's in your heart, but really it's just in your chest, and it becomes like very stressful, because you actually seem to be attached to something, yeah, which is physical, right? But actually, it isn't a physical thing. It's tangible, but it's not physical. Yeah, that's how it feels to me. Like I like, and the more people that I seem to interview who've become hugely successful, yeah, or are hugely successful, like yourself, right? It seems there's like definitely the commonality of ethics, yeah, integrity, right, and this kind of stuff, yeah, and treating everyone the same is another thing, yeah. Like, I treat everybody the same. Like if I meet a guy who's cleaning, you know, emptying the bins, or, you know, whatever it is, like, I treat that guy as the same as I would treat anybody else.
Absolutely,
because that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Humility is is an absolute cornerstone, you know, and these are the kind of principles I'm talking about: decisiveness, you know, having courage. You know, the person who's walking, I have to laugh, but, you know, before, in the old days, the times I walked around that office, really, and, you know, if that phone call didn't come by the end of the day, stuff was going to die, really, you know, in the business, really. I mean, so many times I was there, but, you know, most of the times, pretty much all of the times, I would have forged myself into a person you would have never known. You know, you would have never known unless you really knew me and you knew what was going on, and you was, you know, one of the senior people who knew we had real problems we needed to solve. That you know, and this is the kind of person I'm talking about. That you know, when the proverbial is not when it's all nicey and everything's great, because that's easy. But when the proverbial is really hitting the you know what, you know, but you really have to solve the problems. And, you know, when you do this stuff consistently, and it is really about finding ways to solve the problems easier, quicker, and better. This really forges you into the decisive person who has a real clarity and knows how to manage stuff in a way that you need to, because this stuff doesn't change. Doesn't change, and it really doesn't.
Agreed.
But it becomes much easier then, you know. I mean, I started off with one business, obviously, as everyone else. I mean, I'm on the board of 3 companies now. You know, I have my personal brand, you know, which is very big all by itself. But, you know, we're building brands and businesses all the time. So, you know, it's, but, you know, I love that, because I'm in so much stuff. It's a real variety. So even through that, I'm expediting and honing my skills, but so in so many areas, and so exponentially, but all the time, constantly. So I'm not really learning 1 skill or 2 skills. I have to be good at 20, and I have to be good at, you know, when necessity calls, to be able to do 6 of them, or 5 of them, or 8 of them, or 20 of them together, and do it to a quality that it needs to be.
Got you.
which is, you know, when you've, you know, I mean, this, you know, this is something, and it takes a lot of work, and you do go through, you know, a lot of testing times and worry and exhaustion and all of this stuff. But the bottom line of this is that when you really throw yourself in there as a person to this stuff, then it becomes much easier because you're so much more practiced at it anyway.
Yeah, because you're basically learning behaviors, right? Like that's what you
Absolutely.
learn. Like that's why. Like, I mean, I'm really lucky. I've got a fantastic business partner who mentors me. Like he's been in business like 50 years. He retired like 20 years ago, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And
So he really knows the track.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's taken like almost 4 years to reprogram how I react to situations in order to create that success. Yeah. And there's a sort of desire in your heart to like get it done, right? But actually, if you have that gung-ho mentality, you mess things up, right? So I'm trying to be fast when I do need to handle something, but not too fast that causes a mistake. And this is where the magic happens when you're like, okay, so that's happened, right? Now how do I handle that, and how would he handle it? And I think once you start getting a compliment saying, well done, that's quite good, I would have done exactly the same, you're aligned with that successful person who and that is just magic. The feeling that you get when they're like, yeah, well done, that's good, you did well there. It's like, wow, normally like he just kicks my ass. It's just you know, I just find that's really quite exciting when you're aligned with how it really should be done. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, look, success is engineered. It really is. It's not by chance, and we don't fall over it or any of this crap. It is real. You know, it is really engineered from start to finish, like a fine watch, like the fine movements of a watch, and it needs to turn as such to keep it. I mean, this is the thing. This is what we're engineering here. You know, when people have in their head a really finely made moving watch with all of them parts, then they're starting to see what needs to be done here, really. And you know, it needs to be flawless in its movements, and then you have something. Now you're on the train, really, because this is a working model that actually works, you know, and produces the goods. This is good, you know, and it's very true, you know. Daphne, for instance, you know, she's so talented. One of her sayings is the slower you go, the faster you get there. You know, and I hear her say this, and I mean, you know, she's right, of course.
She's right.
She's right, of course.
Yeah.
You know, I have a very more direct route, but I understand exactly what she's saying, and of course, she's absolutely right.
Yeah, she is. Because if you make the mistakes that you could make if you rush, it can cause you setbacks, which can take 6 months, a year to fix. You know. And in business, right? And that's the biggest kind of issue. But like, I'm really interested to learn about Bronson. You're going to tell me about Charles Bronson, because I want to know a bit about him and like, tell me, like, because he's changed his name like loads of times, right? He wrote a load of books, and a film is based upon him. Is that right?
Tom Hardy played Charlie Bronson in Bronson. I mean, it was a massive film. Tom Hardy, of course, you know, he's a massive actor, and Charlie, the man himself, he's been banded for many years now as Britain's most dangerous prisoner. Now, I can see in many ways why they would say that. He's very much older now, but you know, back in the days where I was with him when we was much younger, he was definitely a handful, you know, and some, you know, he was. You know, he broke the Guinness Book of World Records for press-ups in one hit and doing press-ups with people on his back. And, he was a real powerhouse of fitness, you know, to a very, very high level. He, you know, he was like the old man in the circus. If you can imagine the old strong man in the circus, he even looked like him, you know, with the handlebar moustache.
He had that. Yeah, he had that moustache, didn't he? Yeah.
You know, and he talked like him, you know, but inside the character of the man was a real kind of old school gent who, had a touch of the crazies, but, you know, I'm not surprised, you know, the life he had traveled up to that point. I mean, you know, he'd done so much solitary, he still does now, but, you know, he was a right old school gentleman with very, very clear ideas, you know, about things. It's just his problem was, you know, he may not get in trouble for 18 months, but when he did, the whole prison would be locked down. You know, he'd take the governor hostage, or there'd be really big problems. And, you know, the prison service, they can't have that kind of volatile. So this is why, you know, he gained a reputation very, 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 very fast. But look, you know, he's been away for a long time. The facts are he's never killed anyone or anything like that. There are people who've done worse and have got out sooner.
Right.
You know, he's still, unfortunately, in the deepest, darkest dungeons and doesn't see daylight. I think it sees slightly now. He's become an excellent cartoonist. You know, he's wrote many books.
Wow.
He's a real talent. You know, he's done a lot of stuff for charity.
Wow.
And he, you know, the bottom line of it is, you know, he's getting on now. You know, he's into his 60s now, and he should be released, Nathaniel.
Right. So it's basically it's taking that confinement, right? Taking that kind of pressure that you feel and channeling it into something creative. I mean, that's clearly what you've done, and that's what he's done, right? Like, you know.
Yeah, look, you know, I mean, it's this sink or swim attitude. You know, if you think of it in being a human being terms, and sink or swim, or do or don't do, or stand up or fall and stay down. You know, I mean, these are clear boundaries, but, you know, in the middle of that is where the magic is, you know, as we talked about, which is the human soul, you know, and then, you know, as I've said, you know, the answers and the jewels are inside us. So there's more examples of it. Doesn't matter how dark the night, that can just translate to the shining of the star. Really, you know, it's about reaching in and uncoding yourself, certainly, but reaching into the good parts and developing them and bringing them out to the light and following them rather than other unhealthy pursuits.
Yeah, completely. Well, thank you, Stephen. It's been absolutely brilliant, and I'm looking forward to your new film, the Monkey Puzzle Tree, coming out. I want to read the book. I'm really looking forward to it, because I think you got a lot of great value to share, really. So thank you. It's been spot on, and I'll drop a link somewhere so people can go and find more about you.
That's fantastic, Nathaniel. As always, thank you. You know, and a big hi to everyone out there listening.
Thanks for listening to Positive Personal Power. Do subscribe via your favorite podcasting app, and please leave us a 5-star review. Or sign up on our website, positivepersonalpower.net, for weekly emails and updates, and do share our episodes with your friends and on social media. Feel free to reach out anytime.